What's good, everyone, and welcome back to another reaction video. Today we're continuing on with the Real Dreamworks Shared Universe Part 4, Donkey's Children. Did I do that right? I was trying to make sure I could do the accent right, in all honesty. I probably feel like an idiot. Or I probably look like an idiot just doing that. Yeah. Anyway, though, this is going to be an interesting one. Not gonna lie. But, yes. Apparently now, Donkey's children are involved with the whole thing. Have no idea what that's on about. But I was told by two separate people, though, about the previous reaction. You know, the whole thing involving the music cult. I was told by Nick Ronka 1562 that the music cult is going to be relevant, and the same thing could be said about, well, being made a joke. The theory itself is genuine by Chaos Cat 64. So, with them saying that, I am going to keep that in mind, and thank you, Nick and Chaos, for telling me this. And I'll definitely try to make sure that keeps, like, well, that the music cult thing stays in mind as we go later into this and the last part, which is the long part 3 of the collab of every one of these videos involving Mort. So let's see how this goes. I'm not gonna find out the answer to that, what the musical is gonna be really relevant towards, if I just like stay here and not do anything. So let's keep going with Donkey's Children. If you enjoyed this reaction video, hit the like button down below, hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button to be notified immediately when the video comes out. If there's any videos you'd like to recommend that I should react to, put it down in the comment section below, and I'll react to it as soon as possible. And finally, in the description down below will be the link to this video, so if you want to, well, basically see this, this whole long video in your own personal time, then go ahead and check out the description to see the link to the video and all that other good stuff. And be sure to give the Theorizer some love and support for the video that they made. So with this all said, let's get on with this part about Donkey's Children.
Shrek. This movie has twist after twist after twist and many mysteries.
True.
In my last Shrek video, which I posted a year ago, I delved even deeper into the fairy godmother's plan, and explained all of it, including the parts not explicitly said in the movie. And this time, I'm going to explain how the dragon can have mutant donkey babies.
You know, as weird as he put it, that is kind of weird, actually. Because I'm not one to go into genetics and all that. I barely know. My concept of that is just the bare basics of it all. But yeah, that is a bit strange, nevertheless, hearing that, well, when it's being actually discussed. The fact that Donkey and the Dragon's children are being mentioned. Because, well, as mentioned, it makes no sense. Why are the children, like, you know, mutated and all that? Or why is it possible for them to be here? Not to say that they don't deserve, or I am making this worse for myself. It's just a big weird thing, because I don't think genetics works like that. To allow a donkey and a dragon to crossbreed species into this. For a dog in a for dogs and wolves, well, they share the similar gene kind of thing, but now we're going into something that just makes things a little more complicated. So yeah, that's a bit of a puzzle that's really grabbing one's attention, nevertheless. So I kind of want to see and hear the answer to why this is the case. So yeah.
I'm the theorizer, and I'm going to call these things dunkagons. I know that everyone else
Yeah.
seems to call them drunkies, but I think dunkagons sounds way cooler. And before we start, remember, this is just my theory as to how all of this
Hmm.
works. I don't know if this is obvious or if others have considered it, but it's just for fun, and I feel like I should explain it for those who don't know. Besides, I love making Shrek videos. Alright, I'm ready. Let's Shrek-explain these atrocities. So it's no secret that dunkagons are impossible. They are hideous abominations to nature, and no donkey can breed with a dragon. I mean, how in the name of Donald Trump would that work? Honestly, I don't even want to explain the traumatizing procedure, dare I say, trek, that this noble steed would need to venture on to accomplish this. Oh my god, I just barfed. My point is,
Okay. Yep. Okay. That was something I didn't think I would hear today, but I guess we're going. This is just weird. You know what? I'm gonna shut up and let this guy continue.
Dunkagons are paranormal little freaks of nature. They don't happen. Not even in the logic of something as redunculous as Shrek. Unless they are aided by something,
True.
of course, that is not natural. Something supernatural. So what do we know in these movies to be supernatural? Well, the magic, of course. And as Puss in Boots says, the fairy godmother is the largest supplier of hexes, potions, and magic in the whole kingdom. So does this somehow root back to the fairy godmother? Well, it isn't like this part pixie pain in the pants ever even met Dragon. At least not directly. Well, I suppose there was the fact that she created the dragon to guard Fiona's tower, but I'm referring to after that. She never cared to help Donkey and the dragon. Why would she do anything to help them achieve their happily little quaint mutant family? And so, I reprised that last line I made. It wasn't directly. The fairy godmother's happily ever after potion was stolen from her cottage by Shrek and his bumbling buffoons. When Shrek drank from it, he and Fiona shifted into humans. It also changed various other things rather than just their bodies. See how when Shrek transforms back into an ogre, his clothes change back with him. Initially, when he became human, they never did that. His clothes just stayed the same, as they didn't really need to change. But basically from this, we know that it isn't just their bodies that change. It's everything that pulls together their happily ever after. That's how the potion literally works. Notice how Donkey and Shrek change forms at the exact same time, despite the fact that Donkey drank the potion slightly earlier than Shrek. Also, notice how Donkey turns back into a donkey at the exact same time. And this can only mean one thing. The potion he drank was not responsible for his transformation into a horse. It was Shrek and Fiona's potion that changed him. The fact that it changes him at both the same times as Shrek, and that we already know that other things change with this potion, proves in every way that Donkey was turned into a stallion because of Shrek and Fiona's drinking, not because of the one he drank. And why did he change? Because in their happily ever after, they constantly call him their noble steed. So, based off of this incredibly powerful
Oh,
potion, he
okay.
was altered into exactly that.
Okay, that actually makes sense. Because if he's right about the theory, this actually makes sense. Since, well, the potion was supposed to work, well, was meant for Fiona and Shrek, and it was supposed to be taken by Shrek so that he could do what was needed, which was all a part of her plan. She basically planned for the whole thing for Shrek to take it. So it would make sense that in reference to their change, Donkey would change into the stallion because, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But how does that reference towards the dragon babies? Dragon donkey babies?
Noble steed. I mean, if he
Never thought I'd
drank the
say
potion
that, eh?
himself, why would he turn into a noble steed? It just doesn't make sense. But here, with this explanation, it does, and it fits in pretty much every way. But I suppose you could argue that they all simply changed at midnight and then had like 24 hours of lasting effect, but that was never a rule or law it had, and the chance of that happening is never stated as likely or probable. Besides, even if it were likely, it wouldn't really matter when you consider the noble steed fact, and also what I'm about to say. And what does this all mean? How am I tying this all to the Dunkgons? Well, right after Donkey drank the potion, Shrek said that it probably wouldn't work on donkeys. Yet, it would work on an ogre? Why would it be fit for an ogre and not a donkey? Aren't they both animals? So we know that it would still likely work on a donkey anyway, since it works on Shrek, but I'm guessing it's directly intended for humans only. And so, this arises the question, what would result from Donkey drinking it? Most viewers of the movie didn't second guess it, and those who did, assumed that the dragon either became a stallion like Donkey, or more likely, a larger, shinier, more powerful dragon. And while both of those are good, it doesn't explain the fact that Donkey only became a horse because of Shrek drinking the potion. So what really happened when Donkey drank it? Dun 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 dun! Dunkagons. These little mutant freaks of nature are the result of Donkey drinking the happily ever after potion. What does it promise? Divine beauty, happiness, and comfort. Does it say that this beauty must be physical? No. No, it does not. Is happiness limited to ogres becoming humans? No, of course it's not. The beauty of a family and miracles of giving birth to a litter of Dunkagons actually being successful. Only something magic could sustain, and oddly enough, Dreamworks made this potion say maximum strength on it for literally no extra random reason. Why that significance? Unless, of course, it was intended to do something big, like engage childbirth from miles upon miles away. And while it may have the power to do that, it's not like the fairy godmother actually knew that was going to happen. That's ridiculous. But what we do indeed know is that this fairy godmother's magic has the capability to create offspring that isn't the same breed. Want a direct example? Prince Charming. A fairy has a human son. Bizarre? Certainly.
A
Out of the
bit.
question? I think not. We've seen it twice now. Also, Dragon shows up in the after credits with her Dunkgons, having virtually zero weighing effect on the rest of the story. It's just so random and out of the blue, as they could have just as easily introduced them in the third movie. This being Dreamworks, there's always a significance to everything, making it likely that this final scene does in fact have some effect on the main story.
Okay.
Making it likely that this final scene does in fact have some effect on the main story. And what would that possibly be? Oh, right, happily ever after potion. Sorry, this is just me quickly butting in while editing, and I want you to notice something. Notice how when they're all transforming back, it's only Shrek and Fiona who are really glowing. Donkey just glows a little bit. This shows how it is all revolving around them, and that him turning into a steed is due to Shrek drinking it. I mean, they begin to flash out uncontrollably, while Donkey kind of just glows a little and shapeshifts. And one more point I have. Donkey fell asleep a few seconds before Shrek. This is because Donkey drank the potion a few seconds before Shrek, and was affected slightly before, but then they both transformed at the same time when Shrek fell asleep. I repeat, it is Shrek's drinking of the potion that turned Donkey. But there's one unfortunate blockage in this theory that will be hard to work around. Shrek and Fiona needed to kiss before midnight if they wanted to stay in their new forms. This is the only flaw in my Dunkagon happily ever after theory. Donkey and the dragon never kissed before midnight, as she was likely back in the swamp, but she does return at the very end. So how exactly does this potion work then? We have a bucket full of evidence and a supernatural answer to a supernatural problem, but this midnight kiss rejects everything. So let's try and work around this little barricade. This potion doesn't have many rules, but the big rule is to kiss your true love by midnight and make its effects permanent. But here's the thing. Dunkagons are literally born creatures. They cannot just fly back into the womb and be unborn. And disappearing into thin air isn't really a standard option either. So that's one kind of sort of reason. But then I also realized that Donkey was affected by the potion when Shrek took it, and he was also affected by his own drinking of it. So could Shrek and Fiona's undoing of the potion have somehow affected donkeys? That too is a possibility, but there's still more possibilities. Notice how Donkey himself wasn't exactly the one who was changed by the potion, it was his wife. Do you think this could have led to the effects on his love interest being full on and permanent? We may never know. But there's one thing I do know. If there's anything that the Shrek universe has taught me, it's that there's always a way to work around the laws of magic. See Rumpelstiltskin in the fourth movie. All of his contracts have a way to get out of them, but there are also other reasons why Donkey didn't need to.
Oh, so like there's a secret, unique method. Okay, that's actually kind of believable, considering that again, that one movie involved like the biggest change one could think of, and it shows that magic does have some back doors. You just need to find the right one. Hmm, that's an interesting bit, not gonna lie. So let's see what's going on here.
Kiss, and I have another option as to why it could have worked still. Another option is that maybe Shrek was right, and it works differently on donkeys. All of the evidence is here, and there are many different ways for Donkey and the Dragon to work around these rules, without even knowing it. So, I'm going to leave you with that. Shrek and Fiona's potion losing effect was sent through Donkey and Dragon. Or, Donkagons can not be unborn. Or, Donkey's lack of apparent effects of the potion he drank led to dragons being amplified and permanent.
Or, it just works differently on donkeys. Either way, though, this theory has value to it, and there's always a way to work around things like the potion's rules, especially when you are a donkey and a dragon. Also, and here's the big one, which I think is the correct answer. Notice how the one final
Why the heck is his voice all like that?
warning on the potion is that it's not intended for those who are hyperactive or nervous, and this is likely for comedic effect of parodying medications, but regardless, Donkey shows to be quite hyperactive, and Shrek looks at him, worried. So is that the official workaround? Does Donkey only partially qualify, thus breaking the rules? I think that fits, as, well, this is surprisingly random, and Shrek and Puss look at Donkey as he's acting all hyperactive. Such a weird thing to include out of comedy. Dreamworks. So that's most of what I've got for now. But I do know this. I am not done with this theory. I will try to return to it when I get a successful conclusion on how this potion's rules really work. I will decide on an answer. It has to be one of those 5 reasons, but most likely, the last one. Donkey breaking the warnings can result in altered outcomes. Or maybe it's a good mix of all of them. Either way, until next time, I am the Theorizer, and I thought this theory was a really fun one to come up with and share with you guys.
The horrific abomination.
Let me think here. 6 to that's literally 6 minutes. I can do that. I can do 6 minutes.
In the
More.
Shrek films that are the Dronkies, or as I call them, Donkagons, shouldn't be able to exist, right? What kind of crazy magic is this? A donkey cannot reproduce with a dragon, that's fundamentally insane. Luckily, about a year and a half ago, I'd
true.
spent weeks thinking it over, and I ended up making a full-blown video explaining what I think allowed these things to be born. Click the eye icon in the top right corner now if you want to view that first, since this is a big follow-up to that video. Basically, I ended up deducing that the happily ever after potion Donkey drank actually did have an effect on his true love. It made her into some kind of super dragon that allowed her to birth the abominations, all in the name of magical true love. This is supported by loads of evidence, and most people agreed with me on the idea. But there were a couple of fundamental flaws in my theorizing that I only noticed after uploading. However, I can successfully say that these so-called flaws are nothing more than mere stepping stones to expanding the theory even more.
Okay, that's Okay, sure.
I am the theorizer, and guess what? If I sound like I have something in my mouth during this recording, it's just because I've been quite sick for the past, several months, and that would just be, well, a repercussion of that. But guess what in regards to the theory? There's an immediate freaking bombshell of proof that Donkey drops in Shrek the Third that could be construed as a comedic joke, but the way it ends up logically playing off legit proves my whole theory. Shrek's all like, how could this happen? In reference to Fiona's pregnancy, and Puss in Boots hilariously begins to explain the reproduction process. Shrek cuts him off and says that's not what he meant. Then the joke. Donkey asks Puss, well, how does it happen? This, right here, people. Donkey very openly confirms that he has no idea how babies are made, yet he has a ton of children. Dragon comes to Far, Far Away at the very end of Shrek 2, and Donkey is shocked that babies are there. He just assumes that it happened. The only indicator that Donkey had before was that he said Dragon was being very moody at the beginning of the film, but he had no idea why. And he's shocked. Wait. At the beginning of Shrek 2, Donkey says Dragon is moody. At the end of the film, it's revealed that this is because she was secretly pregnant, and Donkey, with his redonkulous anti-knowledge of reproduction, had no clue he'd be a father. But this means that if drinking the magic potion caused the Dronkies to be created, then why was Dragon indicating her pregnancy before they even left? Well, this was the main and only criticism of my theory here, and I'm here to tell you it actually supports it. Dragon clearly had some crazy abomination brewing. Donkey doesn't know much about the reproductive process, but clearly something happened, intentional or not. Whether he knew it would create babies or not, that caused her to become fertilized. And here's what my theory's point is. Dragon's birthing process would have been a horror show. This is unnatural, and no DNA would ever reform naturally into a split between a donkey and a dragon. She would have given birth to a litter of dead fetuses, broken, deceased, completely malformed babies that had no resemblance to either of them. This is why she was moody. She was pregnant. The potion didn't put the children into her, it healed them by temporarily making her some sort of super dragon so that she could successfully give birth to creatures that otherwise could never exist without the aid of magic.
Oh, I get it now. Okay, by going by that logic, the only reason they were put into that kind of situation was due to the fact that the dragon thought they dragon thought that the children were gonna not make it through the delivery because the cross species genetics wouldn't just work naturally. So the way she was moody, it was more like she was angry, depressed, and all that because Dragon wanted to be a mother. But thanks to Donkey drinking the potion, it was possible for the procedure to happen. And because they were born after and the effects can't be taken back because new life was given, okay. That makes sense to me. Honestly, that makes a lot more sense than anything else. Because technically, it would give Donkey and his true love a happy ending. And since Dragon is his true love, her happy ending with Donkey is with kids. And since the kids were probably in danger, they were put into a way that they could reproduce and come out healthy. Huh. Well, that's actually pretty cool, actually. So, yeah, I guess that's it. That's the answer.
Anything she wanted would be born. A happily ever after, not a damaged and half-developed mess of organic matter. So then comes the big one. How are they still alive? Donkey is no longer a horse, and Dragon stopped being whatever crazy, enormous dragon Pegasus thing she became. So shouldn't the Dronkies become unborn? Shouldn't they straight up die? No, and here's why. They are unique. They are actual balls of life that were created by the spell. They cannot be undone. They aren't just physically altered things resulting from the potion actually birthed them. In fact, some people pointed out something else. Yes, the writers originally had Dragon become a Pegasus, which would suggest that the Dronkies looked like much more beautiful creatures before the potion wore off. Now they look slightly mutated, but it can't go so far as to unbirth them. It only went part way. Or maybe they'll get progressively dumber before dying in the 5th movie, I don't know. I mean, Charming was birthed by the fairy godmother's magic as well, and also by a king, as I proved in a brilliantly awesome 4-part series I did, which I love. Also, as the YouTube commenter CJ Harris pointed out, Dragon merely giving birth to the Dronkies or kissing them or whatever could have passed on the spell. After all, they weren't the ones intended to be affected by the spell, they were byproducts of it. And if the magic transfers, the undoing of the spell won't affect them either, since they are no longer in the womb. They can self-sustain because they are the potion. Additionally, as I said in part 1, the potion's rules directly state that nobody hyperactive should be drinking the potion, and Donkey is, well, immediately after drinking it, displaying that he's hyperactive. Shrek intentionally looks worried about the side effects this could have. Say, like, supercharging its effects on the other lover? I'm not sure, but again, they make a point about highlighting this warning on the potion. Or maybe its effects could have gone weird because Donkey can speak, and maybe he's not a real donkey. Anyways, that's my rebuttal to the debunkers. This theory is having the lid closed on it. For now. And until the next theory, which will likely be even deeper and on a sillier topic, yes, I'm the theorizer.
Okay, there we go. So there we go. There it is. This is the end of the donkey babies. Okay, I'm gonna admit that sounded really cringe out loud. I'm not gonna lie on that. But yeah, you get the point basically. That was an interesting one. I'm not gonna lie. It does have some mirth, and I'm gonna agree on saying that it does make sense in a way for it to happen. Magic is a difficult thing to really get a true understanding about, especially in the Shrek movies. And if Prince Charming is like a byproduct of magic birthing him, then in all honesty, if he can stick around after everything, then it would make sense that the babies of Donkey and Dragon can stick around. Yeah. Though, I admit, the concept is a bit weird now, but whatever. But yeah. I hope you all enjoyed this video nevertheless. Honestly, this was informative. Yes, that is the best word I can use in this situation. The information given was very informative about what was going on here. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button below, hit the subscribe button to support the channel, support the content provided, and so on and so forth. Hit the notification button to be notified immediately when your video comes out. Now with this all said, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!